Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. I see everyone hopping in, everyone joining us from the waiting room. We are so grateful that you've joined us today. I know it's Wednesday. It's a little gloomy here on the south side of Atlanta, but other than that, I hope everyone's doing well. While you are joining us, we'd love to see in the chat where you are joining us from. I know we've got some registrants and people joining us from all over, so would love to see in the chat as you're logging in where you're at. Like I mentioned, we're a little south of Atlanta here at the office. It's been a little gloomy. Yeah, DICU in Atlanta, Brussels. Wow, Julie, all the way from Brussels. Thank you so much for joining us today. Wisconsin. Hopefully you guys are warming up a bit. I know it's been a, a little bit of a cold winter. Chapel Hill, or I'm sorry, Kareem. Yeah, don't know if you are a UNC fan, but it's been a rough season, but that win over Duke is going to get me through. All right. Yeah, Doris from Los Angeles. Sunny. Send some our way, please. Would love some vitamin D. Awesome. Phoenix, Arizona. Bernard, I see you. Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, wherever you are joining us from, we just want to welcome you. We're so glad that you're here and that you took some time to join us today. So, whether you're brand new, whether you're exploring what's next, or whether you're simply just curious about what the coach training intensive is, you are in the right place, and we are here to answer all of your questions for you. So, if you don't know me already, if we haven't talked for whatever reason, my name is Alexis Murray, and I'm one of the program managers here at the CaPP Institute. We're really just excited to walk you through some important training information and some common questions that we often get about CTI. So, like I said, we're going to take a minute and introduce ourselves. I'm going to be your host for today's call, and I'm also joined by Kristen, who many of you may have already connected with behind the scenes as you've been considering or maybe have already even registered for the upcoming coach training intensive. So, Kristen, can you hop on real quick and just say hi to everyone? Oh, I think you might be muted. Let's see.
There we go.
There
Too
we
many,
go.
too many buttons pressing. Thank you so much, Alexis. And hi, everyone. It's so wonderful to get to connect with you all today. Yes, my name's Kristen. I am the Level 1 Program Manager here on the team. I've had the privilege of working with our coaches and prospective participants just like you all, considering this next step in their coaching journey for the past 3 years. And it really is such a joy to have the conversations like these today, where we get to understand where you all are and how we can support you and partner with you along the path that makes the most sense for you. So I'll be in the chat jumping in to help answer any questions that you may have, to share any feedback, or just to capture questions you have. So make sure to put those in the chat so we can get to them. We want to make sure that you leave today having your questions answered. And so we'll be providing plenty of opportunity for that. So thank you, Alexis.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, for those of you who have been fortunate enough to go ahead and connect with Kristen, she's absolutely fantastic. Don't know how we would get along without her. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to her in the chat, and we'll make sure, like she said, that we answer any questions that you have before we wrap up. So I'm going to quickly ground us in what we're doing today. So we mentioned we were going to answer some questions. This is really meant to be an informational and open conversation about what we do here at the CaPP Institute, why we do it, and we want to help you better understand what the coach training intensive is, who it's designed for, how it might fit into a larger coaching journey that you might be looking into, especially if your goal might be an ICF credential. We're going to talk a bit about how all of that fits in, and then of course starting with the coach training intensive. So our time today is going to start with a high level overview of the CaPP Institute and what our philosophy is that really goes into all of our curriculum and coach training. We're going to walk through CTI, what that looks like, how it really is the foundation of your training path. And then we're going to talk through some of the most common questions that we hear. So I've been with the CaPP Institute now for a little over 10 years, and I've had a really great opportunity to hear firsthand what you guys are interested in, what brings you to coach training, and then Kristen as well, as she's navigating those initial conversations as those of you are interested in coach training and CTI. And so we're just going to share, because most likely if it was a question for them, it might be a question for you. So yeah, then we're at the end, we're going to wrap up with a little Q&A. So if there's any questions that you have that we don't cover or that would just be helpful to talk through, like Kristen mentioned, please jot them down, and we'll make sure that there's some dedicated space for that at the end. So without further ado, I know we've talked a little bit about what today's going to look like, but we want to go ahead and dive into kind of an overview of what CTI is. And we really can't start with that without talking about the foundation of the CaPP Institute. We really have some important things that basically drive everything that we do, from all of our programs, from the start with coach training intensive all the way through to our advanced professional coach program. And all of that really starts with our mission. And the mission here is to develop whole, effective, and ethical coaches that create meaningful transformation in others. And that can be in the form of your own coaching practice, or it can be how you serve those that are your clients, or how you show up in your organization, maybe some opportunities or some coaching opportunities that you have within the business that you already work for. So that's really important to us. Our founder, Valerie Burton, who many of you may be pretty familiar with, was really deliberate and focused on creating coaching education that blends both professional excellence with personal growth. And we want to do that in a practical way while supporting our coaches, while helping them build sustainable practices. We don't want you to just be an effective and efficient coach. We also want to set you up well to be able to generate revenue from that and to make a living. So from the beginning, this work has really been grounded in three core pillars. And these core pillars have really become the underpinning of everything that we do. If you are familiar with the Coach Training Intensive or with the CaPP Institute or even with Valerie, these probably don't sound too new to you, but we want to go through them anyway to really help you understand how it influences everything that we do here. So those three pillars that everything relies on is positive psychology, it's professional coaching mastery, and then it's that business development piece. We don't just teach you how to coach. We really want to support you and help you become the coach that you're meant to be long term. It's more than just teaching the skills. It's about understanding what development needs to happen to show up as your best and as the best coach as you can be. The positive psychology piece of that is a really big part of what makes our training both credible and effective. The positive psychology provides the research, the theory, and the evidence base that helps explain why coaching works. It's not just a matter of telling you this is what we do and to do it, but to understand why it is that this is our framework, why it becomes a part of everything that we do. It really gives language and science to what great coaches intuitively already see. And sometimes you might be able to identify it when you see it, but you don't know quite how to articulate it. That's what the positive psychology research really does. It strengthens, it really creates hope and resilience and motivation, meaning. We touch on things like self-efficacy and all those things that really fuel sustainable change. It's important to know that positive psychology doesn't sit outside of the ICF core competencies. So if you've done any research, you'll know that those ICF core competencies are the foundation of all of their credentialing and accreditation. And what's important is that positive psychology actually supports and strengthens those core competencies. They're not separate from it. So as you join us at the Coach Training Intensive or any other program that we have, you'll find that positive psychology supports everything that the ICF Core Competencies stand for. So if you've done any digging, you'll know there's competencies around like cultivating trust and safety, how you communicate. And so positive psychology helps us understand the role of psychological safety, things like optimism, emotional regulation. When you see competencies around evoking awareness, we draw on research around strength, mindset, values, resilience. All of that ends up supporting what the ICF states as being the most foundational pieces of coaching. When you think about the end, when we get to action and accountability and client growth, we're using evidence-based principles around goal setting, motivation, behavioral change. There's so much that goes into supporting the ICF core competencies, and positive psychology becomes that rock. So rather than teaching all of these things in isolation, we really help you understand the human dynamics around coaching, what happens in the brain, what happens emotionally, behaviorally when transformation occurs. It really becomes a powerful aspect of this foundation that is positive psychology. And it doesn't just live in theory. That's another big piece of this. Valerie really wanted something that was going to be practical, that was something you were going to be able to walk away with, to understand, and to start implementing pretty much immediately as soon as you start coaching. It really becomes practical. We really use practical, resourceful tools that you can bring directly into your coaching sessions. That spans through CTI and beyond. So as you gain access to this positive psychology research and resources, you'll see things like strengths-based reflections and assessments, resilience and stress management tools. A lot of your clients might be coming to you with a lot of different challenges, and sometimes they are high stress, high demand situations, and you might want to know how to best support your clients in each of those roles. These tools and assessments do that. They support the confidence, the motivation, really create sustainable action. And so these are conversation enhancing tools that deepen that awareness, and they really help clients connect the dots between who they are, what they really want, and how they want to move forward. So what our coaches are consistently saying is that this positive psychology foundation gives them more confidence because they're not guessing. They're not trying to understand what it is and why it is. They get it, and that's what they're doing. And not only are they implementing it, but they're seeing that it works, and they're seeing how to effectively support their clients' growth. And ultimately, there's no better driver of business and marketing than a happy client. They're going to go out, they're going to tell people, they're going to be excited about their growth, and that's really what's going to help drive long-term success and sustainability. So in light of all of that, I've talked a little bit about the ICF, but I want to touch a little bit more because some of you have already come with a lot of questions around, well, how does this fit into a possible ICF credential, or how do all of these pieces fit? And so we've built a very carefully curated training path. The CaPP Institute is both a level 1 and a level 2 ICF accredited coach training program through the International Coaching Federation. That's what ICF stands for, just in case anybody's not familiar with that yet. And what that means is that we support coaches who want to explore coaching for either personal or professional growth, sometimes both. We help them build a coaching business or coaching practice. And then we support you to pursue an ICF credential, whether that's an ACC, a PCC, or beyond. Again, if you've done any research, you know that there's quite a bit to learn about that. But if you're right at the beginning and you're interested in an ICF credential, then that ACC level is going to be what you're aiming for. We have advanced programs that we've just launched. We were super excited about that. We got our pioneer cohort up and off the ground and got them graduated last year. And that allowed us to be able to apply for our level 2 ICF accreditation, which allows us to support those who are looking for the PCC and the MCC level of ICF credentials. But ultimately, this path is intentionally designed so that each step builds on the last. You're supporting the skills that you've learned in CTI with what you build on them in CPEC, and with those mentor coaching pieces, all of this leads to your confidence and ultimate long-term success with those goals. So, just a quick recap of where you're at in your coaching journey right now. If you're brand new, if you're just looking at what the first step is, then the coach training intensive is that first step. CTI really is the foundation of everything that we do here. Structurally, it's a live interactive training experience, but it is completely virtual. It's designed to immerse you in the core coaching mindset and skills. It teaches you the foundational Acera coaching process that is unique to the CaPP Institute and can only be learned here. We allow you to start practicing that framework in real time where you're getting live feedback and you're able to enhance and really perfect teaching with that Acera model. You also experience being coached. So for those of you who may be interested in coaching but have never had the opportunity to be the client, this is that opportunity. So you get to see what it looks like from both sides, from the coach and from the client. And you're going to walk away with practical tools that you can immediately apply. Like I said, we want this to be something that you can start implementing as soon as you're ready to start coaching. This isn't a waiting game. You don't have to keep building and keep waiting. Although there's lots to learn, you're set up well so that you can start coaching right away. You're going to walk away with a certificate in personal development coaching, and you really get to see what makes CTI so special. It's a really unique learning environment that you don't really get a chance to be a part of elsewhere. It's incredibly supportive. The community that we build between our faculty and all of our graduates extends well past that 3-day coach training intensive weekend. It's something that really sticks with you. We've had people that have met at CTI, 10, 15 years ago and are still together and are still meeting and are still connecting and celebrating wins and using all of those resources that just comes with being a part of such a great community. In all, it's really just been intentionally designed so that you're not just absorbing information, but you're actually becoming a better coach throughout this entire experience. So I know I talked quite a bit about kind of what we do, why we do it, what CTI looks like. And so we're going to take a few minutes to start diving into some of the questions that we often get that might be questions that you have around what the coach training is, the types of things that you're going to get out of it, and what you're going to be walking away with. So Kristen, I'm going to kick it back off to you for a minute. And what are you hearing whenever you're talking to people about the coach training intensive?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and thank you so much. You did such a great job kind of outlining again, just really what, again, your experience has been here at the CaPP Institute and just the strong foundation of coach education here. And yeah, I think quite a few things come up around questions that we get. And Doris, I want to acknowledge one of your questions is one that we get, so we'll definitely be answering that today. I would say that one of the things that we get most often is for those that are coach curious, as we might say, those that are interested in coaching, but they haven't yet maybe gotten paid clients or working as a coach within an organization, and they are curious around if CTI is right for them. So they've not yet done any first steps, but they're curious about it. So could you speak to that individual who might be on the call today and answer, do they already have to have clients or be actively coaching for CTI to be right for them?
Yeah, absolutely. And Kristen, like yourself, I'm sure I've gotten that question plenty of times. I know sometimes whenever you're doing your research, you might think that there are some prerequisites or some things that you might need to have under your belt. And so first, I'm going to touch on who it's for. So coaching is one of those interesting skill sets that can really be applied across multiple industries. So we don't see just one particular person coming that's interested in being a coach. Coach training in general is really it's for professionals. So anyone who wants to strengthen their communication skills. I know that coaching might not immediately seem like that's a problem that gets solved, but coaching is a form of communicating. And what you don't realize is that strengthening that, regardless of whether you are looking to start your own coaching practice, really does change how you show up, how you communicate, how you get the best out of others, whether it's a team, whether it's those that are above you or those that are below you. So definitely professionals looking to strengthen that skill. Anybody who really just wants to demonstrate and show up better, who wants to position themselves better for opportunities within the workplace, all different types of industries. Anybody who is looking to get an ICF credential. I know, like I said, quite a few of you are doing that research on the front end and are coming into coach training already knowing that you want to pursue an ACC or one of the higher level credentials. It's also for those who are aspiring entrepreneurs. So if you want clarity on where to begin, how do I even get started? How do I get a coach training business? A coaching service business off the ground? We really touched on that from the very beginning with the coach training intensive, and we really help you better understand how to set up your own coaching practice. You'll know what steps to take, what comes next. And it really just helps to avoid having to piece something together. It's kind of that whole notion of don't reinvent the wheel. We've done it. We've done it for years and years and years. Our faculty have done it for years and years. So there's no reason for you to go out and try and piece it together and figure it out yourself when we're here to share that knowledge with you and to help set you up well from success from the very beginning. Sometimes we get questions around, well, do I already need to be coaching? Do I already need to have clients? And that's not the case with the coach training intensive. So you do not need to already be coaching. You don't need to already have clients. You don't even have to have even started. It really is the very beginning, and becomes the foundation for all of the coaching that you'll do from that point forward. CTI is designed to meet you exactly where you are and to set you up well for success for whatever goals that you might have. Another thing that comes to mind is around like degrees or prior experience. Are there certain areas that people need to be coming from, certain industries, in order to successfully integrate into the coaching world? And so to that, I would also say that regardless of what degrees you might have, what background experience, CTI is going to be the foundation regardless of where you're coming from. And you're going to want to always start with CTI. There are some very unique instances in which if you already have ICF accredited coach training, we would love to talk with you more around what that training is and see if it's enough that you can go ahead and move into some of our later programs. But we highly, highly recommend that CTI be your starting point. Even experienced professionals tell us that CTI almost recalibrates how they listen, how they ask questions, how they show up. It creates a shared language and foundation that makes everything else even more impactful. You know, there may not have, you may not be coming with an understanding of positive psychology research and language. And so this teaches our unique coaching model, which I mentioned, Sarah, which is rooted in that positive psychology. It establishes a baseline for that research and shapes everything you do within the CaPP Institute moving forward. And so many people join CTI to explore coaching as a possible next chapter. Sometimes they're considering things like retirement, or they're making a big career shift. Coaching is an excellent skill to support you in any of those endeavors. It strengthens your leadership and communication skills, like I mentioned, and it just positions you better for opportunities within the organization that you might be working in. The tools that you get, you can use immediately. And even if you're not starting your own coaching practice, there are things you can use with teams, with leadership, and there's lots of opportunity there. So even if you decide to not pursue coaching professionally, CTI is incredibly valuable, and it's a great first step. You don't have to commit to all of the training programs up front. It gives you training that you can walk away with something that's tangible that you can use without having to commit long term. Of course, that's what we would love you to do, but it doesn't give you so much pressure up front. Kind of the opportunity to get your feet wet in the coaching world, as we like to say.
Thank you so much, Alexis. That is so helpful. And it's interesting in looking at our poll today around everyone's unique coaching journey and kind of who's joining us today. You've touched on so many of the different places of where people are in their coaching journey, around those that are curious around coaching and exploring if CTI is the right next step for them, and those that are actively coaching and if this is an appropriate place for them as well. I love what you said about CTI meeting them where they are, and I wholeheartedly agree. I know we're going to touch on this in more depth in just a little bit around those that are ICF bound, who have done that research and are looking to further their journey all the way to the ICF. And then those who are looking for professional development and continued education. And so I think, again, I think you touched on just again how CTI can meet each of these individuals who are looking for the next step that's right for them.
Yeah, and actually, Kristen, before we transition to the next question, I'm going to actually touch on Amy's question in the chat real quick, just because I think it's pretty timely here, as so many of you might be joining us from the Maxwell community. We definitely appreciate that kind of crossover where maybe you got an introduction to Valerie there and then have decided to maybe want to learn more about CAP and about CTI. So what you've done with the Maxwell training is such a strong foundation to how you can apply coaching, specifically in leadership dynamics. What's interesting about the coach training intensive in relation to that is that, of course, you get that ICF accredited training. So if an ICF credential is something that you're looking for, you wouldn't be able to count the hours from the Maxwell training, but you would be able to count the hours here at the CAP Institute. It also already gives you quite a bit of information around coaching models and structure, which means you're going to be set up really well to learn our Acera model, which is a little bit different than what you learn in the Maxwell training, but it's really designed specifically to hone in on the ICF core competencies. So you touch on that in the Maxwell training, but you don't get as much of the in-depth understanding that you do during the intensive and the programs that we follow. And there's a lot more positive psychology research that you get, a lot more tools and assessments. And there's just only but so much that you can fit in, a couple of hours of that on-demand training. But the live component is huge in building that confidence and giving you that real-time feedback that you wouldn't necessarily get by going through an on-demand series like what the Maxwell training offers. So if that's you, if you're in that boat and you have any questions around what the shift looks like between what you completed in Maxwell and how that transitions here at the CAP Institute, we would love to talk with you more about that. So make sure to connect with either Kristen or myself in the chat or via email at info@capinstitute.com. And we can send you some just things that you can refer to help better understand what CTI looks like as a next step for you coming from Maxwell. Yeah, you're welcome, Amy. I hope that was helpful. Yeah, and we'll talk more about the ICF credentialing process in just a bit, but I wanted to make sure that I grabbed that while we were talking about it. So, okay, Kristen, is there anything else that we should touch on now, or maybe head
Yeah.
on into our next question?
No, I think you've done a great job. Again, thank you for answering that in real time. I think that's very timely as well. And I think one of the questions that Doris was asking early on as we were kind of talking through, just again, thinking about CTI as the foundation and the first step, what for those of the individuals on the call who are just getting started or are really considering this next step with CTI, what do they get after CTI as far as, again, we've said a lot of words around, certification, credential,
Yeah.
accreditation. What does a graduate of CTI get?
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up, Kristen, because I know that sometimes the language can get a little confusing, what we call things, what the ICF calls things. So just for clarity, when you complete CTI, you don't get your credential. The credential process is strictly through the ICF. What you will get is a certificate, which is also worth noting different than the certification. So we're going to break all of that down a little bit for you. So CTI itself, like I said, is not the ICF credential, but it is a critical first step, and you're going to need it, especially if you are pursuing an ICF credential long term. But when you finish the CTI training weekend, you're going to walk away with a certificate of completion. And the certificate notes the number of ICF accredited training hours that you have completed from that point that you can use in the future towards any future credential that you may be looking to gain. Like I said, it's a strong foundation, and it becomes what you build on in our 6-month certification course, as well as the mentor coaching experience, if that's something that you're choosing to do. The ICF process is done directly through the ICF website. They accredit programs and they credential coaches, but they do not actually provide the coach training directly. So that's important to note. You go through them for the application process, but you can't actually go through them in order to get your education and all of those hours and requirements that they have in order to meet that. But that certificate that you get at the end of CTI says what you've done to that point and sets you up to be able to enroll into our certified personal and executive coach program. So that's our 6-month certification course, and that's what actually helps you meet all of the requirements that you'll need to actually become a certified personal and executive coach through the CaPP Institute. And that is the point in which you will actually receive your certification. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't start coaching. The coaching industry is evolving and growing very, very quickly. And so at this point in time, you don't have to have a certification in order to start coaching, but we highly recommend it. It comes with all of the training and the resources that you'll need to show up well and to show up for your clients effectively and efficiently, and to get them to the point that they're wanting from the client's perspective. So helping them reach those goals, set those milestones, all that's really important. And it's going to keep your clients and your customers coming back again and again. And so quite a few of you have already done a lot of research about the ICF, and that really says a lot about your dedication to the craft, which is what we care so much about, and just what your entire coaching journey is going to look like long term. So a level 1 or level 2 application path is a smoother one, both financially and with the time. It's going to give you the cheapest application prices once you do go and take that step, and it's going to be done in the shortest window of time, which is super important. If anyone has been doing research on the ICF long term, you'll know that the time frame has spanned anywhere from 18 weeks but fortunately through the accreditation process, we can whittle that down all the way down to as short as 4 to 6 weeks. So all of that really matters, and should be taken into account when you're thinking about what your full coaching journey looks like. So you don't get your credential or your certification yet, but you absolutely walk away with a certificate, and you absolutely walk away with all the resources, the tools, the done for you documents. We have a lot of what we call swipe copy, which is templates that you get to mold and shape to work best for you and your own coaching practice. And all that's given to you from the very beginning once you complete the coach training intensive. So if you have clients, or if you're in a position where you're already coaching or have the opportunity to, then you can. And one thing that we highly suggest is just letting people know, hey, I am going through, or I'm in process of going through ICF accredited coach training, and this is what they've shared with me. This is what I'm practicing with, and so yeah, it's really just up to you with how quickly you want to dive into it. But you're set up so well from the very beginning, from the point that you complete CTI, and ultimately we just want you to know that we support you at any stage, whether you're at the very beginning or whether you're looking to pursue an ICF credential later on.
Thank you, Alexis. This was definitely, I think, a question a lot of people had around, again, just where CTI, intersects when it comes to the ICF, when it comes to what they're going to be able to do. And I think it really is a helpful segue, because I think, again, in thinking about this question and thinking about someone who's interested in getting started, and they may be considering a CPEC certification or an ICF credential, but right now, what may feel right is starting with CTI. So in thinking about those individuals who do graduate from CTI and have their certificate in personal development coaching, can they start coaching? Can they go ahead and start getting clients? Can they go ahead and start building their business? Talk to that individual who knows right now maybe the first right next step is CTI.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to note that depending on where you're coming from, what your experience is, what your current, career landscape looks like, you might be in a position to be able to start coaching immediately. And we want to make sure that we have equipped you well for that if that's you. So CTI gives you the core skills and the confidence to start coaching and practicing right away. Many of our graduates begin coaching friends, colleagues, like I said, if you're in a position where you already have clients or have the option of going ahead and securing those, go ahead, do it. While continuing the training, you don't have to wait until all of it's completely done to be able to go ahead and leverage that. So overall, we encourage ethical coaching, which means that you're just being transparent around what it is that you're doing, and understanding that the support that you're being given through the CAP Institute and through the coach training intensive is has already been vetted. It's already been reviewed, so you can feel confident that what we're sharing with you will set you up well. It's exactly why CTI is positioned as the starting point and not the finish line. So you are equipped with the documents, like I said, all that swipe copy, the sample agendas, intake forms, everything that you might need to be set up well to start coaching, you have from the point that you complete the coach training intensive. Um, and like I said, you can continue with coach training during that process. There's nothing holding you back from being able to start coaching right away. It's completely up to you and your confidence level, what your, like I said, landscape might be, if there's those around you that could benefit from it. Either way, you are set up well.
Thank you so much, Alexis. Really appreciate you touching on that. Before we jump into another frequently asked question, there's a couple
Yeah.
things from the chat I just wanted to circle back to.
Yeah,
If that's okay, I think it just kind of connects to what we're talking about. The
absolutely.
first one in thinking about those on the call that have done their research and thinking about different coach education providers, and thinking about those three pillars at the CAP Institute. The positive psychology one really has stood out for a few people on the call today. Can you talk to when they get to see that? I loved how you talked about how it's not taught segmented, but it's all integrated in their coach training. Can you
Yeah.
talk about a little bit when they can expect to get some of those tools in relation to positive psychology at CTI?
Absolutely. So one great thing about it, like I said, it is weaved in and out of everything that we do. I kind of call it our positive psychology filter, that everything kind of goes through that little stream there, and we determine what research is out there that supports what we're teaching here. And so during CTI, you get it from the very beginning. You get it on day one, you get it on day two. We actually prepare you for seeing how to integrate strengths. And so you'll be asked, if you are joining us for the coach training, you'll be asked to complete one of the strengths assessments, the VIA strengths the character strengths assessment, excuse me, all of those words. And that actually supports you in seeing how we use strengths, how you can use them with your clients, and how all of that comes together in a way that's very, very practical. And so we start to use it with you so that way you see how you can then turn around and use it with future clients. In the training manual that we share with you for the coach training intensive, it is packed with resources, with suggested readings, with practice assessments, things that, again, enhance your coaching conversation and allow your client to feel super supported. And long term, we continue to weave that in and out of our CPEC classes. So when you move from CTI to CPEC, there's a whole dedicated track of classes specifically geared to help you better understand positive psychology research, where it came from, and how to use it with clients in your coaching sessions. So if the question is how soon, day one, and then you continue to get it in everything that you do moving forward.
Thank you, Alexis. No, that's great. And I think, again, as you've probably seen even on the ICF website when doing your research, we are one of the few coach education providers that does have positive psychology as a core pillar of instruction. So I think, again, that will, be something to consider as you're thinking about that next step. So thank you,
Absolutely.
Alexis, for
Yeah.
sharing that. One other question from the chat that I wanted to touch on, and I know from your experience, again, 10 plus years working with lots of different individuals, with lots of different organizations, can you speak to a little bit how CTI has supported organizations who are interested in developing, coaching within their, internal systems? I know I think it was
Yeah.
Arizona University, is that right?
Yeah,
And other.
ASU.
Thank you. Okay,
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
think back from the history of CAP with 10 plus years, but just thinking of those that are coming maybe around from a corporate or organizational lens and thinking about CTI and how it can impact them internally.
Yeah, yeah, I love that question because I think what we've seen more than anything else over the last couple of years is how coaching used to seem like it was one of those one-off personal components, but seeing the impact of coaching on organizations, on long-term success, on growth, on sustainability, on retention, is really clear now. There are so many businesses and organizations that are specifically looking to integrate coaches to help with their leadership. And one amazing opportunity we've seen coaching be integrated in the educational space for a long, long, long time. Higher education, especially, like I mentioned, retention is one of those really big pieces that a lot of colleges and universities are looking to increase. And so we had a very unique opportunity to partner with ASU, so Arizona State University. I also saw that we had somebody here with us from Phoenix, so you might be familiar with that. But what we helped them do was actually integrate a peer-to-peer coaching, actually award-winning peer-to-peer coaching program. And it was an opportunity to go in and integrate our Acera framework and coaching model to help students coach other students to higher levels of performance, to goal setting. Like I said, retention, there was a huge increase in retention, those that went through this program, specifically for those who came from lower income or were first generation college students, transfer students. And that, like I said, has won awards. It is something that they are continuing to do to this day, and that other big colleges and universities are very interested in also integrating into their systems. Aside from higher education, I think there are Fortune 500 plus companies that are seeing the benefit of coaching and what that does to the psychological capital, what that does to understanding what your teams need for them to better communicate with each other to reach those goals and those milestones. And so we're seeing coaching be integrated across the board. There's high value and high benefit for what it does for long-term success. And at the end of the day, what we're seeing is that these organizations aren't just going out and looking for any coaches. They're looking for coaches who have had some sort of ICF back training, who have some sort of foundation and understanding for what it is they're teaching, why they're teaching it, and making sure that it works. One thing that I love to share when I have the opportunity to is that in the developmental stage of Valerie preparing to create the CAP Institute, she got her master's in applied positive psychology at the University of Pennsylvania, which is, I mean, no small feat. And throughout that process, had the opportunity to actually work with the U.S. military. And what they did was integrate what they were learning around well-being and how people flourish and strengths, and seeing that it not only made such a big impact on those that had been deployed, I believe it was three or more times, but how they integrated back into society whenever they were done, and what really allowed them to show up well, allowed them to support those that were underneath them, their teams. There was just so much good that came from that, and so I love to say if it was good enough for the U.S. military, then it should be good enough for us too.
I love that. No, thank you so much. And yeah, I think it's so I think again, seeing your experience and just also for us seeing our graduates and hearing about again the ripple impact of coaching in their organizations, it is definitely something that we're seeing to be transformative. So, thank you for speaking to that. Um,
Absolutely.
we're getting about almost to the top of the hour, so I want to make sure that we again get all of our questions answered. So we're going
Sure.
to hold off on our. I think we've answered the last frequently asked question, I think, in real time with everyone here. So really want to
Yeah.
make sure that we support those of you who are on the call right now, that you get all your questions answered. So we're going to start with Doris's, and then we will continue. So please add any other questions in the chat. Also, stick around till the end. We've got a few things we want to make sure that you hear while being on the call today.
Yeah.
So we'll make sure to have that information for you. So let's see here. Doris was asking specifically and thinking about, as you outlined before, like all the steps towards a certification, the pathway that we curate and provide support with for coaches. Can you speak to the name Certified Personal and Executive Coach and how we
Yeah.
support individuals who might be more thinking about personal coaching, those that are more thinking executive? How has CPEC supported coaches in different fields and even thinking about like our graduates, um, can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. And that's such a great question. So at the foundation, what we're teaching and the framework that we teach and the resources that support that um, can really transfer across any industry against any form of coaching, whether it's personal or whether it's executive. What's really unique about our CPEC program is that in addition to that foundation, you're going to get some specially curated classes and coursework. Some of those classes are around corporate and organizational coaching. They're ways that help you better understand what coaching and those dynamics look like. And those classes are specifically geared towards that. So that's the only thing that you're going to be talking about in those sessions. And then as you move forward into our more advanced training programs, we continue to deepen what that looks like on the organizational and on the corporate level. We talk about things like creating proposals and ways to set yourself up really well for those coaching opportunities that aren't on the personal side. But what's great about CPEC is that that foundation that you get really does apply across the board. You're going to use it in a corporate setting the same way you're going to use it in a professional setting. What we're teaching you isn't dependent on the industry. It's really just dependent on showing up well, understanding the skills, and really applying those core competencies with all of the clients that you work with. So we can definitely dive more into that. I know we are kind of wrapping up here with time, but if you have any other questions around what coaching in the corporate space looks like, please reach out to us via email. We'll be happy to share some additional information around what that looks like in our training programs.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alexis. And I think again, just in thinking of right now, we're wrapping up our evaluation period for our soon-to-be graduates from our most recent cohort, and just thinking of conversations with them and where they're going to be going off and flourishing in their coaching. The range is so wide of individuals going into private, corporate, personal. And so I think, again, what you said is so true of just setting that foundation for coaches to take the training and to use it in so many different fields. So, um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. I do want to just quickly share. I know as we're getting to the top of the hour, some of you might need to go. And so, just a quick couple of announcements and kind of updates for you before we head into any other questions that we might have. If you're interested in the upcoming coach training intensive, our deadline for that is coming up soon. It's going to be, let's see, I believe it's in the chat, but I just want to make sure I say this correctly. Chris, you might want to hop in here. I don't
sure.
want to misspeak.
Yeah, no problem. The deadline to register for the upcoming March coach training intensive is Monday, March 2nd at midnight Eastern time.
Yeah. And then in addition for joining us, I believe we have a pretty awesome bonus going for these next couple of days as well. Can you talk a little bit about that, Kristen?
Yeah, absolutely. So, if those of you on the call are thinking about this next step, along with just again the wonderful resources Alexis has mentioned and the downloadables, the manual, the live training, we'd love to offer you the opportunity to be entered to win a one-on-one coaching session with our founder and CEO Valerie Burton. She is a MCC credentialed coach. Again, Master's in Applied Positive Psychology, has been named top 50 coach. Again, just her accolades are a mile long. So it is something that we'd like to offer to you as a thank you for being on the call today. So if you register by Monday, February 23rd at midnight, you'll be entered to win a one-on-one coaching session with Valerie. So we would love for you to take advantage of that.
Man, what a treat. I don't know if there would be anything better than that. So if there's anything that you would be interested in getting coached around or on, or just want to talk with Valerie around what your coach training journey might look like, then make sure to get registered by that Monday, like she said, Monday, February 23rd, and be entered to win that opportunity. And just want to reiterate that regardless of whether you win that or not, CTI has so many benefits and is incredibly valuable. You're walking away with those coaching skills, with the positive psychology skills, with the business development plan. So we didn't have a whole lot of time today to dig into that business development piece, and hopefully we'll have another call coming up sometime where we can talk about that more. But that third day of the coach training intensive is our business development workshop, and it is, man, if you've given any thought to what setting up your own practice looks like, or if even what setting up yourself for coaching opportunities, like we talked about within an organization that you're already with, or contract options. I mean, there's just so much out there. The business development day is fantastic. The instructors that we have that lead that third day have done it themselves, and they've done it for years. And they really help you walk away with a plan, an actual checklist, actual tangible items that you can keep track of and stay on pace to creating your own coaching practice or establishing your coaching services. And then, of course, like we said, you're going to get that certificate in personal development coaching. You're going to get a 100 plus page instruction manual with those templates, those downloads, all of those resources. You're going to have access to our CAP community, which again goes well past when your actual training times ends. They are friends that you end up keeping forever. And then we also have a free monthly master coaching roundtable. So even if you don't decide to move forward into any of our other coach training programs, we do offer a free monthly call that just keeps you up to date on what's happening in the coaching industry, what new marketing tactics are out there, what's going to best support you as a coach in whatever journey you might be on. So lots of benefits, lots of bonuses that come with joining us here at the CAP Institute. And just wanted to make sure that we talked about that just a little bit before we wrapped up with the rest of our questions. So I think I hit on all of the important stuff, Kristen. But if I missed
Thank
anything,
you.
please
No, you did so great.
share.
Thank you for touching on that. Obviously, I could talk to you forever about CTI and coach training here at the CAP Institute. So I appreciate you making sure that we hit those for everyone on the call today to know that information. Just want to highlight, we put the links in the chat for those of you who are thinking about registering. The CAP Institute website is there. That's how you can register. You'll go to the CTI page. We do have a couple of options. So just to let you know, the 3-day option includes all 3 pillars of instruction that Alexis mentioned today, our proprietary coaching framework rooted in ICF Core Competencies, the positive psychology, and then the business development piece as well. The 2-day option offers the first 2 pillars, and then that as the 3rd day is the business development workshop. So if you're thinking about the options, that's what you'll see there. You're welcome to enroll in either. You always can, if maybe Monday is something that you're not sure that you're able to attend, you can always come back at a later time and attend. But just want to let you know that that's where you'll register. And again, if you have any questions, info at CAP Institute is the way to go. Also included something called a welcome packet. It's just got a lot of information that you all can sit with. I'm a Ripple processor, so it takes me a minute sometimes to think through some of these things. And we also recognize this is a really big decision, and we don't take it lightly that you're considering that here with us. So this welcome packet will summarize a lot of the information from this call that you can kind of take back with you and think about as you're considering this next step. So just want to let you know those resources are in the chat for you. All right,
Yeah,
Alex,
thank you,
I do
Kristen.
have a question for you from
Yeah,
Julie. She is asking about, so if they're thinking about moving forward with us here at the CAP Institute and thinking about all three steps, CTI, CPEC, and MCE, and doing the full level one bundle, can they do them intermittently? What's the pace as far as like, do they have to do
yeah.
CTI and then CPEC and then MCE, or can they kind of space it out? How does that work?
Yeah, great question. And so we really have created a pathway that's going to be flexible for whatever works best for you. So we have the bundled option up front where if you know from the very beginning you want to do it all and you want to do it as quickly as possible, then do the bundle because it's going to fast track you and put you in the immediate next training available to you to go through CTI, CPEC, and then mentor coaching. But on the flip side, if you just want to like I said, get your feet wet first before you decide to commit to all of the training programs. You can just do the coach training intensive first and then decide later on that CPEC is the next step for you. So there really isn't a time frame. Once you complete the coach training intensive once, you're able to enroll in any CPEC program that starts after that. And then same with mentor coaching. We have the option for you to do it alongside your CPEC training, but again, completely flexible for what works best for you. You could just do the mentor coaching by itself after you complete CPEC, or you could do it alongside it. So you could kind of a la carte it and do one program at a time, or you can bundle them all together, and then that's going to fast track you towards meeting all of those requirements.
Thanks, Alexis. Absolutely. And just Julie, if there's a special circumstance that you're thinking about personally in relation to like the bundle, just I can work with you in thinking about timing
Yeah.
around. So for example, the March CTI bundle that's on the website right now, if you were to enroll through that option, it would automatically enroll you in the fall cohort with us, be the fall CPEC cohort that runs from July to December, and then our fall mentor coaching groups that will start in September. But if you're thinking, I know I want to do all three programs, but the pacing of them and when those are, we can be flexible with you. Typically, again, that's the flow of things, but we can work with you around um, thinking about deferring one of those programs to the next one within a year.
Yes.
So we can be flexible with you. But if you have specific questions, I'd be happy to schedule time for a call with you. So just reach out to info@capinstitute.com and we'll set up a time to connect. All right, let me see. I see some chats coming through. Um, Absolutely. Julie and Amy and Mary, we're so glad. Jacqueline, thank you so much for jumping on the call. Are there any other questions that you all may have? Really, again, the goal of today was that you get your questions answered. So we want to make sure that you have that information to feel set up for success. Again, we're so thankful that you are here with us, Alexa. I'm not seeing any other questions
Yeah.
in the chat today. So any other kind of final words or things that you want to make sure they take away from joining us today?
Yeah, well, just want to say, thank you for being here. It's one of those things where you probably have a lot of questions that may not end up getting answered. And so we just wanted to create the space to give you that information and allow you to ask any questions that you might have. We're always available. And so if anything comes up later on, that would be helpful to give us a call or shoot us an email or even just go ahead and schedule some meeting time with us. We're happy to connect and to answer anything that you might just want to talk through. We really truly believe that coaching is a powerful tool, whether it becomes your profession or whether it simply enhances how you show up. We believe that everyone can benefit from coaching and having a coach and understanding and learning these coaching skills. So, with that, I will officially wrap us up by just saying thank you. We hope to see you at one of our upcoming coach training intensives. And until then, we'll see you next time. Hope you have a great day, rest of your day, morning, evening, wherever you might be joining us from. And as always, we are a resource here for you. So hopefully we'll be talking soon. Other than that, be on the lookout for the recording. We'll make sure to send that out via email. You're welcome to go back and replay it, listen to it. And if any other questions come up, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Thank you all so much. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.